Did you have any like big winners, losers from it? Players you really liked that went, higher than you expected, lower than you expected, just anything like that?
Well, I think for winners, there are quite a few teams. I really like what Chicago did with Korchinski, Nazar, Renzel. I know I wasn't going to lead with Chicago, but as soon as I heard it, I was like, okay, I have to do it. And then Samuel Savoie, just like a little truck, just running over everyone. He's super fun to watch. Gavin Hayes has some real upside. Same with Ryan Green and Paul Lewinsky. But Columbus, I really like the identity that they're trying to build on the blue line. I mean, you get Juracek and Matejchuk. You get two guys who are very focused on creating advantages up the ice, very focused on activation. And then you get a few nice little upside swings later on. But I mean, you add that, you got Sillinger, Kent Johnson, Corson Ceulemans, David Juracek, Denton Matejchuk. Like, not all those guys are going to hit, obviously, just by the way the numbers work. But I mean, that is a great core to build around. Montreal had the first overall pick, so I won't talk about Slafkovsky, but I really like what they did in the later rounds. Philip Machar, a high skill guy, you can really build more to his game, more inside play, and I think you can extract some serious value from him. Owen Beck, he's a pro. He's a pro already, 17 years old, and he plays center like he's been in the NHL for 5. Just very good north-south player, understands how to win battles, win body positioning, and then he's great at getting open, and his give and go game improved a lot throughout the season. So I think he's almost as close to a surefire NHLer as you're going to find. Lane Hudson, everyone loves Lane Hudson. Cedric Windon can rip it. Vincenz Rohr can hurt people in extremely impressive ways for someone who weighs 161 pounds. So I liked what they did. Seattle had a fun draft, obviously getting Wright, but also Furcus, Goyette, Yanni Newman, Tyson Jugnoff. Barrett Hall was a guy who one of our scouts, Daniel G, really zeroed in on, and I quite liked him in some extra viewings later on the season. Winnipeg was just fun. I mean, I liked it. They were just taking huge swings every time. Rigordy, all right, fix the skating. Brad Lambert, all right, fix the decision making. Ilya Salmonson, same thing. Danny Zilkin, you hope the skating come along. Garrett Brown, you hope the skating. But like, all of those guys have legit NHL tools. I know Garrett Brown, for example, didn't score at all, but man, that is a guy who can activate. He's a guy who can make great plays off the point. His highlight reel was about as good as any as you're going to find for someone who got 0 points or like 14 points or whatever he had in the USHL. And then if we're feeling like, I guess, value agnostic, Arizona was kind of fun, right? Logan Cooley, Connor Geekie. You can ignore what they had to trade to get Connor Geekie, but I really liked the Julian Lutz pick. Healthy, he's ready to go, and he's just, great tools. Big, strong, powerful guy who knows how to get to the inside and has some real finesse to his game. Matthew Morin is, big, a little clumsy, but he has moments of real fluidity and skill. And Maverick Lamreau is, I think he got kind of misrepresented. Everyone saw a big guy who was a bit lumbering, and they were like, they just picked him for violence. And if they have a good development plan, he has some legit upside. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 4 offensive guy, but he has some puck skills, some interesting moments. So I like that. And then as for losers, it's always hard because a lot of times the losers in the draft are teams that end up being, they ended up making the right call. Like just look at Detroit with Moritz Seider, for example. But I didn't love what Edmonton did. I thought they could have extracted more value out of that late first.
Yeah.
Reed Schaefer, I'm not saying that Reed Schaefer is a bad player. I think we ranked him like at the tail end of our board, which is around 100 names long. But you really hope with that late first you can get someone who projects to be more than a fourth liner. And I understand, he's big, geeky guy who likes to hit people, but his hits are always like chasing the play, and his dekes never really resulted much. So you hope he can flesh out his game a little bit more. And Joel Mata, not an inspired pick, hasn't scored at any level. Real solid defensive player. I respect his game, but the NHL ability I don't think is particularly high. And then I can't remember who else they drafted, which is a very bad sign, I think. I think they had a couple more picks, and I'm completely blanking on it.
Yeah, I really would like to see the Oilers go after someone like Jagger Furcus. Like, I really thought he would have fit in well, potentially playing in the top 6 in their future. Anyways, so we kind of, like, the first team you brought up were the Blackhawks. I'm very curious. This kind of bleeds into my next question. I'm kind of curious to what do you think Frank Nazar's true upside is, because I know you're very high on them, and I'm pretty sure the entire Elite Prospects team was high on them as well. So I'm just wondering what kind of makes him such a special player, and what could be his true upside if everything pans out well?
Yeah, well, I published a video saying that he has the highest offensive upside in the draft class, and a few months later, looking back on it, I feel even more strongly about that. He has pretty much everything that you're looking for. Pace, best pace in the draft. It's not just about sprinting, it's about changing pace, and he's absolutely fantastic at that. Slowing down, getting pressure, then passing through it. He's very inside driven. He's a terrific shooter. He can rip it off the pass, and he's even better at getting open and getting open and tight. So he'll like go between checks, read it, then skate through the guy's hands. So then when he takes the puck and shoots it, he has that extra time and space. Just a really adaptable player. You add in the fact that the playmaking improved so much throughout the year, and he was already making high-end, elite-type passes, like stuff that you don't see from anyone. You didn't see that from Shane Wright or Uri Slafkovsky, where he's manipulating 3-4 defenders, cutting back, passing against the grain with like some crazy no-look backhand pass. Like you don't see that type of stuff very often. Everything checked out. The underlying profile was the strongest on the NTDP in the 14 or 15 games that I tracked, where he was the best rush attacker. He was the best at getting the zone. He generated the most offense. Just a truly, truly electrifying talent. And you hope that as he advances up the levels, the motor and the determination that he shows in these moments where he's bringing the puck from one end to the other will kind of translate to the defensive zone. And he already has the physical skills. You know, physicality isn't something that we talk about as being important, like being able to handle the puck or whatever. But for a guy like Nazar, who's 5'10", it's integral to his success in the NHL. He has to know how to get low, how to establish body positioning, how to prevent guys from reaching around, and he's one of the best in the draft at that. And like, if everything goes right, well, not if everything goes right. I don't know why I said that. If everything goes right, everyone will be in the NHL. But yeah. For him, I think on the current path that he's trending, there's legit like 1C upside. I think there's a real chance that he likely settles into the 2C role, but 1C with like those physical tools, with that style of play, always in the middle, always fast, but he has a nice delay game, uses his teammates well, he can score. You know, there's legit high upside with Frank Nazar.
Yeah, as like Blackhawks fans, there's not been a bunch of I guess like prospects to look after other than Lucas Reichel, really. So no, regardless of what you think of how they got those picks at number 7 and number 13, I really like how they flipped Kirby Dach for Frank Nazar. Obviously, DeBrincat for Korchinski, yada yada. That's a whole different story. But I think just looking in a vacuum, just purely at the draft picks, I really like what they did. Frank Nazar. Do you think he projects as a center at the NHL level or more as a winger? Because I've been seeing, he might not project as a center. Just because, 5'10", you can't be a center because of that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the only reason why I can see why people would say that. He's a very intelligent support player. He's very good at getting the middle, then kicking pucks out to the flank. He's very good at taking pucks off the boards and moving them to the middle. Two very, very important skills in transition in the NHL, especially if you're going to be a center, where you're supporting, you're moving back and forth around the ice a lot. And of course, having that speed up the middle, having that quickness up the middle is so important. Not just because you're trying to charge straight ahead, but because you want to have that threat to bring defenders towards you, right? If you can bring a defender towards you and then you can bring another one, that means there's someone open on the ice. And Frank Nazar really improved his ability to find them throughout the year. So, I mean, he's as clear of a center to me as I saw. Like, he's more of a center to me than Logan Cooley or Cutter Gauthier on that team for sure, I think.
All right, so it's nice to hear you wax poetic about Frank Nazar, because we were a huge fan when they picked him. And I guess we're on the topic of the Blackhawks draft picks. What did you think about Kevin Korchinski at 7? I feel like everyone kind of had the same reaction, like, oh, that's maybe a little high, but you can kind of respect the gamble at number 7, because I feel every team was looking for that Cale Makar-esque defenseman. I don't know if you're going to get as high as level as Cale Makar is, because he's just really a different breed, but kind of being that tier below and being that offensive defenseman that can transition pucks up the ice and all that.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. Look, like, we had Korchinski ranked 19th, then it's 7th overall. Like, once you get past the first few picks, you're really just throwing darts. And of course, you have more opportunity because you get to pick your guy that you want in that area. And so they should hit on them more because they have more selection. And of course, if you just flip the Nazar Korchinski pick, then it looks more reasonable anyway. So I don't see what the problem is. I think Korchinski's very electrifying. He has a dynamic style of play. He wants to be the guy. It's hard to teach, like that's a skill within itself. And he's incredibly turnover prone. A lot of them you can't live with, and I'm very pro turnover, as people say about me sometimes. I love a good turnover if it means that they're trying to do something good. The defense has a long way to go, and I think the skating, as much credit as it does get, which fairly he does have, he's very fun on his edges. To play that in the NHL, he's got to get deeper. You got to be able to explode more from one side to the other. He's also like 6'2", 170. He's going to add weight. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get more depth. He's going to find more separation. And on top of that, that will also curb some of the turnovers as well. As the skating improves, you get more separation. You get more time to make the next play. Turnovers go down. So for Korchinski, it's going to be a developmental project. There's no way around that. But again, he wants to be the guy. Like I've never talked to him, but I would imagine you ask him, just based on the way that he plays, he wants to be in the middle of every single action. And on top of that, generally those players are the ones who improve the most by the time they get to the pros, because they're the ones who seek out all the information. So I'm really excited for him. And I mean, you just look at the rest of this Blackhawks blue line that they've drafted, right? Sam Rinzel, like chaos personified. But you can see the upside in him just because he's so fluid. He can pass it like crazy. Ethan Del Mastro, he's a wild man, but it's the same thing. He's just running up the ice, deking through people like crazy, making look-off passes, like stuff you don't see from defensemen very often. So it's an exciting time. Not all of them are going to pan out. Some of them are going to get to the NHL and maybe blow up a little bit, but it'll be fun to watch. That is for sure.
Yeah, I feel that's one thing the Blackhawks do have down is they have their defensive core is definitely set for the future. Obviously Nolan Allen is another guy that drafted. I don't know if he has any high upside, but that's certainly a guy who can play NHL games. They got a bunch of guys in Rockford like Isaac Phillips and I think Jakob Galvis, and they even have Wyatt Kaiser in University, who I really like. And Kevin Korchinski, you bring up him wanting to be the guy, him moving pucks up the ice, like him having that confidence and poise, and I feel like he has a lot of runway because he is a June birthday. This isn't like David Jiricek, where I think he was like November, December of 2003. Like Kevin Korchinski is June 2004. I think he's gonna take the time and. Again, there's stuff he has to work on. He is quite turnover prone, but I'd rather that than him not trying nothing at all. He's definitely a risk taker, and I feel like the saying of it's better to tame a lion than to make a cat a lion or whatever it is. I feel like that's true of Korchinski. If you can kind of rein him in a little bit, then even if he isn't a top pairing guy, still if he's still a top four defenseman who can eat a lot of minutes, kind of quarterback your power play number one, that still would be a great pick at number 7.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, NHL contracts are so linked to points, right? And this is a guy you can very easily envision making some serious dough because he's going to get some serious points on that power play.
Yeah, hopefully feeding the puck to Connor Bedard anyway. I think that's a nice way to transition thing into the 2023 draft because we have a lot of questions. Obviously, like Connor Bedard, he's going to be the top guy. I just see it so hard for anyone dethroning him for that number 1 spot. I think he's in a tier of his own, even above Matt Mitchkoff. But I think the question kind of begins after number 3, or I feel for the most part, the consensus is Bedard and Mitchkoff and Fantilli.